Right, chilled out transfer chat on its way with some big news on its way when it comes to a lot of the big clubs. If you think about this season, it's been clustered, right? The Man City have struggled, Arsenal have struggled and fallen off a little bit as well, and I think Liverpool can see that those guys are going to really progress their team, and of course some big changes with Trent coming out. So lots to talk about. We're going to kick off with Zubimendi. Right, we're looking to do this more and more on the channel, on More James Allcott, with me, more. So if you want more from more, that's me, more, then smash the subscribe button, hit the like button, and then we'll do more of these because we'll be like, bloody hell, they seem to like it. And we can just have a little chin wag about some of the interesting transfers. Kicking off with the boy, Zubimendi. We did a video on him a year ago because he was linked with Liverpool at the time. It's interesting people go and have a look at that one again because he is a really exciting player for them. In terms of the move, Romano's talking, isn't he? Agreed deal. Look, big letters. Here we go. That sounds like it's done, doesn't it? Has now verbally agreed to sign a long-term deal, so formal steps must follow soon with Arsenal to trigger the £60 million release clause. Zubi, good friend of Romano's, is ready to become the first signing of the season. I think that's the important thing here, first signing of the season, because I don't think it's just him is enough, if I'm honest. If we head to the tactics board and talk about this, obviously Thomas Partey, he's not going to be there forever. And so I'm intrigued to see how they look to change it about. There's another transfer in this long list that I've got here that we're going to run through that I think actually, I'm sure they would have had a look at, but actually, the more I think about it, could be a lovely fit there. But it's kind of dependent on a different question. But with Thomas Partey, and this has generally been the best 11, right? If everyone was fit, which of course has been part of the problem here. And in terms of Zubimendi coming into the fray, we'll just get rid of that for a second. Oh. With Zubimendi coming into the fray. I'm going to have to create him. Exciting. So this is the tactics board, by the way, which is going to be making its way to you guys soon, where you can build out your own teams. You can do all the kind of analysis that I do for you and your friends. Oh, there he is. There's Zubimendi. And he's going to step in, and he will be there at the buttery biscuit base for Arsenal. I think there are other things at play, as I say. I think there's things to think about here, because I think one good thing that Arteta wants is speed with the ball, I think, a lot of the time. He wants to be able to bring in players that can allow the team to move up the pitch, because they do like to squeeze up all the way up here and just box teams in. And I get it, and it works. So I think speed of play is definitely something that he has loved to employ within his teams. And that is what Zubimendi will bring more than anything else. I still think, look, his confidence has been shot to pieces this season. And in terms of those players that are going to play in these kind of areas here, when you do press the whole team high up the pitch, which you naturally will do because Arsenal got that great rest defence, it's about recycling the ball nice and quickly. But I still think there are some question marks when it comes to this team in terms of what you do and how you break down a team to score the goals. And so I think first signing of the season, great signing, okay? Because he's going to play the ball. He's going to play the ball quickly. He's got a great understanding of the other players around him, and he's got gorgeous vision to play passes of inside, outside of the boot. It's really nice. What's interesting to me is how that will set up with everyone else. Declan Rice, there's now this feeling of like, oh, we actually like to see him get on. So is that going to continue more and more? That's fine with me. I think he's just an incredible, complete player. I do feel like you need players who like getting the ball in these areas here and are able to turn with the ball and drive. Declan Rice is great in transition, I think, a little bit more so, getting the ball and driving, or then being a box presence. Odegaard, it's been disappointing. You know, you don't just give up on him. Absolutely don't give up on him. But does he need some more help in that area over on that left-hand side? Or, you know, is there different games where you kind of want to move it about, change it up? Do you want a more attacking fullback? Do you want to allow Lewis Skelly to come and get involved? Do you want to rotate your team, right? There's a lot going on. What Zubimendi will bring to this team is the ability to get it, see the pass, and play it quickly. And that, hopefully, in transition for Arsenal, will help them. I do still think they, of course, need to sort out the striker position. And they are linked with a couple of players, Gyökeres, and they're linked with Seshko, which is interesting because in terms of the players that we've put forward for them, I was on Saturday Social a little while back. The big thing for me was that you need that guy who's just so comfortable in the penalty box. That is the big one for me when it comes to this striker that's going to come through. And Gyökeres, I think, is an amazing shout if you can go and get him and have someone who has been scoring goals and can feel comfortable in that area. But also, I think a big thing for Arteta is you want that Havertz profile in the sense of someone that can get on the ball and help drag the team up the pitch as well. Šeško, hold-up play is okay at times, but look, big lad. All those attributes that I guess you've got with Havertz as well. Havertz hold-up plays, I would say, is better than Šeško's. Šeško, the way he finishes, he just absolutely wallops it a lot of the time. The nuance, that's why I put Retegui forward for that. I find it weird that no one's even looking at Retegui. I just find it odd because I think if you're a dominant team that's going to be in and around the final third all season long, it's having those guys who are just that little bit more chilled or be able to get a yard and shoot. Šeško, great for that, right? But it looks like it's going to be Gyökeres, and I'm intrigued to see how that changes how they play in transition. And maybe if you've got the two of them, that's great. But again, final thing for me, I think these areas, these half spaces, those players are going to pick up the ball there and then drive with it. That's another area that needs addressing. But look, if you can get Zubimendi, bloody get him. Good grief. And it looks like they have. So congratulations, Arsenal fans. I think you're going to be excited about that. The best Arsenal team I've seen in terms of entertainment has been that Arsenal side that's able to, that first season, and it was the speed of which they played with. And Zubimendi will provide that. So that's all good stuff. Next up is an interesting one, and one that a lot of people have been talking about, and it's moving pretty quickly. It's Jeremy Frimpong to Liverpool. And I wanted to show you guys something here because I think this like big move, Liverpool fans, talk to me. How do you feel about this? The fact that, like, look, when you're strong, i.e. you've won the league, how much should you look to change? Now, the thing with Liverpool is it's enforced a little bit in terms of what's going to happen to them. But Liverpool are in advanced talks, it sounds like, increasing confidence. Frimpong keen to join Liverpool, so personal terms not an issue. And again, in terms of like finding clever little signings, 35 million as a release clause for a player of his quality, I think is obviously not a no-brainer, but it's like it can't totally go wrong. What I'm intrigued to see when it comes to Liverpool is how that's going to change everything in terms of the dynamics of them. And so how exactly does that play out? Because let me show you this. So this is the passing network of of Liverpool. Blasphemy for Liverpool fans. And of course you've got Trent. Let me circle him instead. You've got Trent right here. Right? On this right-hand side. In behind Mo Salah, who's obviously been high and wide, and there's often been those passes time and again over, certainly from Van Dijk as well, playing it over that way. Konate happy to do it. All roads lead to Salah. But importantly, if you're thinking of a right back and you're thinking of a back four, you're obviously thinking of Trent being in that area there. Now, let me show you this. Because this is the average positions of the last Leverkusen game. And this is all pretty obvious for a lot of you guys, I'm sure, because you're all clever people who watch the channel. But if you're on face value going, okay, Liverpool on a right back, they're looking to replace their current right back. They've got a right winger who's been absolutely outrageous for them this season. One of the greatest Premier League seasons of all time. You don't want to kind of lose that, and you're slightly scared of losing that because you're bringing in, you're losing Trent, who's obviously facilitated that a lot of the time. And you're looking at the average positions of a team of a player that you're going to go and get. You would imagine number 23 is Frimpong. It's not. This is Frimpong, number 30. So he is not Trent. He's barely a right back. So this changes everything for Liverpool, in my opinion. And I think that will feel unsettling. And if it plays off, and I think it's one where as I said, going back to the idea of like, when you are strong, do you change? How much do you change? Do you ideally you just strengthen, but it feels like there's a huge tactical change that's going to occur here when it comes to Liverpool, which is somewhat enforced because of the way that they've played with someone like Trent in the team. And I think what's interesting to me here is that, what does this mean for Salah? Because as we've just seen there, like if you think Salah's always high here and he's generally trying to get himself into this little zone here because that's where he's a real threat. I guess if you take Alexander out, or if we do it, let's just take the names off for a second. If you do it that way, what you can see is that with Frimpong normally lives up here. So my question to you guys, and if you want me to do a video on it, can we get 2,000 likes on this, and then we'll do that for you guys. Is how does this change kind of everything? Because Trent's been here, he actually kind of wants to step in here. Of course, he can go out here sometimes, but Salah has been high and wide, and they've been kind of playing in transition. With the way that Frimpong plays, if you let him play the way he wants to play to get the best out of him, what does that mean for our boy Salah? What does that mean for him? Also, Robertson as well. Like, do you stay with a back three, or an elbow defence? Let's take him off. That you see all the time, but Robertson's not really that kind of player. So how does that change things? Is this an area as well where you want to make a change? And if Kirkez is coming in, now it's going to start looking like that, which is really interesting. And again, super interesting for Mohamed Salah and his role in this team. And is it one where he will now start to step in instead of going beyond sometimes? Or as a whole team, that desire to play those, quick fire transition balls, right, in behind, is that going to be a thing of the past? I'm fascinated to see how this one plays out, but looks like this one's going to happen. I'll be honest, it's a bit of it's a risk stylistically, because it's going to be like a nice big juicy change there, and will that still continue to get the best out of Salah? I presume that Liverpool have got an idea of what they want to do. What do you think that idea is? I need to go away and think about that wholeheartedly myself, but I do feel like it means like Salah maybe almost starts turning into somewhat more of a striker. And what does that mean for someone like Szoboszlai, who's kind of been in that area of the pitch as well? It's fascinating. Let me know your thoughts, and we can pick this up if you want to. I want us to. But yeah, I'm not totally sold on it. I'll be honest, I'm not totally sold on it. One player I'm sold on is Reijnders of AC Milan, who is apparently linked with Man City. They're hopeful. They're super hopeful, according to this. And I was talking about Arsenal earlier. Like, Arsenal should have been looking at this guy. What's a bit of a weird one here, and AC Milan fans, you'll let people know in the comments, inevitably, rightly so, is that he signed a new deal to 2030, like this year, I think, earlier this year. So that makes it feel a bit odd. That means that it's going to kind of cost a lot of money if that's going to happen. It's just been contacted and they've expressed an interest. At the moment, they're being trying to be sweet because they got the Coppa Italia final on the way. And they've been linked with quite a few players. Man City, they're not messing about, are they, in terms of how they're going to try and replace this man, Kevin De Bruyne. And there's obviously two players that they're looking at, with Florian Wirtz being the other one. I know there's been meetings with Liverpool as well. I do feel like Florian Wirtz is a Man City player, and I think if that happens, that's scary. I think if you get both of these guys, then that's really scary. Because what I love about Reijnders is the fact that he's so upright. He's not really got a tell from a body language point of view. So he's constantly, when you're going, when you're running one way or another way, a lot of people run forward, leaning some way, understandably. He's so upright, and he's just got these amazing like action man hips that he's able to just drive past players brilliantly. Also has fantastic vision. Also has this lovely way of arriving in the box at the right time. So I think Reijnders would be an amazing player for Man City because he's kind of ticking a few different boxes. You could be, if Rodri's out, you could play him there. But if you need him to be Gundogan, he can arrive late. If you want him to help this team transition with the ball and take players out of the game, can do that as well. Maybe not totally a Kevin De Bruyne style player, but does have great vision as well. So I think someone's just subscribed to me. That's mental. Has that been coming up throughout this thing? I'll sort that out. That's so funny. What is that? An alert box. There we go. We got some subscribers. That's great. Great to see. I'm going to turn that off. That's so funny. Whoever, if you're that person, then let me know in the comments. That's so cool. Reijnders, but I was thinking him and Arsenal. He'd been great for Arsenal as well, kind of in terms of that kind of player that can drive it. And if you really felt like Declan Rice could be your future successor to Partey at the base of this midfield, I think they would have looked at him even more so. And I think that kind of almost gives me an answer as to the fact that they don't feel like Declan Rice is that kind of player, which I think is a little bit cruel. But I think in terms of the overall levels that you're trying to get to these days, in terms of that player that can be that six, that new six, you've got to be able to kind of, have that quick vision, quick feet. You've got to be so complete now. You don't just sit there and do nothing. And so Declan Rice, they thought he could be that guy. Maybe they think he's not. But I was surprised that Arsenal haven't been linked with him a bit more than Man City, if I'm honest, because I think there's something to be had there. But obviously they've got Zubimendi coming through the door. Liverpool and Man City both linked with Florian Wirtz. I think it's one that Liverpool, they want to keep an eye on him as well, and I understand that. 10 goals and 12 assists in the Bundesliga this season. Obviously not the same heights as last year, but from a numbers point of view, not pretty similar. I scored 11 and got 12 assists last year. I think the interesting thing here for me is that he is a player that goes all over the pitch. Let me show you. So you can see here above my head, he does have that space to drift over to the right-hand side or the left-hand side. He's so complete from that point of view. Always in those half spaces, getting on the ball and kind of making things happen and knitting it together. And I think for Man City and maybe the fluidity with which they want to move forward, and also the kind of players that they're being linked with here, players that can play in a few different positions. I think he wants to learn from the Rodri situation here and have players that are pretty hybrid. I think we're seeing it more and more in the modern game, and I think it's one area where maybe Man City, from that physical point of view, from midfield onwards, we've seen that they've struggled that little bit. And in terms of replacing Kevin De Bruyne, it's just not going to be that one person. It's going to be a little bit different. It's going to have to be a few different players. They need to not be so reliant on one player. I think that's a huge learning for Pep this year. And if you think about it, Rodri, De Bruyne, Haaland, I guess Foden, maybe you could say they relied on him last season, but in particular, those three have been so integral from an output point of view over the last few years. And they've had periods this season where they've not had all three, which is just a nightmare for them. So you want to be able to bring in players that are going to be able to offer and go to the next level. And Wirtz is a sensational player. If you think of him and Marmoush and Haaland all together, Man City could be a bit scary this year. Dean Huijsen. Or Dean, as I like to call him. He is being linked with a move to Real Madrid. And the big thing here for Real Madrid, of course, they're trying to sort out their centre-back issues. It's been kind of a few years they've been having injury problems when you think about those big Champions League games. And you got Dani Carvajal, obviously at right back, Militao's had several injuries, Alaba's had several injuries, Rudiger's had one or two as well, and both a bit older as well, Rudiger in particular. Both are 32 to be fair. But so Dean Huijsen, in terms of bringing him in, getting him kind of ready, I think the thing that I feel sort of mixed on this. Do you think a £50 million release clause, which is what I think we've got here, for someone that you bought for, 12 mil? How do we all feel about this? Because it's one where, would you have got him for this amount? I mean, it's a 6-year deal, but I reckon his agent would have gone, we want a release clause in here, because if this guy is sensational, they want it to be that stepping stone. The player does. They just do, right? I'm not trying to be offensive at all. You just got to accept it. And I know Bournemouth fans are smart enough to get that. If you're selling him for 50 million, is he worth more than that? That's my question. Is he worth more than that? I feel like he is. I feel like I love the temperament of him. I love the fact that he can be left alone to deal with the defensive side of the whole left-hand side for Bournemouth at times this year. And so when you think of stepping into a Real Madrid team, I think this is a really, really good fit for him. Obviously, he's Spanish, so wanting to go back there works as well. You can imagine him and Asensio within the next 2 years being the people. And again, you think of that Real Madrid team is now, yes, it's been poor this year. Of course it has. but you should have an age profile that is so sort of strong come, what are we in 2025? 2028. Like, everyone is going to be at the peak of their powers. I think this is a great one for Real Madrid, and I think it's a good one for Dean Huijsen, where he probably does want to play every game. But like, if you've got 60-odd games, I think in terms of stepping into Real Madrid, seeing the pressure, feeling the pressure, and if you're good enough being the starter, which I think he probably is pretty close to being, I like it. I think it's a good one. And I think they want to get it done as soon as possible. And there's a route there for him with those injuries that we were talking about. Of the defenders, they're not long for this Real Madrid world, in my opinion. I mean, Rudiger probably could go on for a bit, but you want to reinvest, don't you, in that area? And Dean Huijsen is a fantastic fit. Does anyone feel like he's getting overhyped? That would be my question to you guys. Man United are advancing on Delap, but it's all up for grabs apparently. There's talk that the fact that they want Semenyo as well, and it's all coming down to the fact that if they can get this Europa League victory, because Champions League football will be the difference between them playing, getting someone like Semenyo as well, who they've been linked with. So Cunha, 60 mil, Delap, 30 mil, Semenyo, I'm not sure they've got a total number on that one as well, but a lot of people looking at Delap. I like, Delap obviously been in Manchester before, so. And I think he's got that kind of bullish nature. I remember like the very first Amorim game, he was talking about, I said, look at that Ipswich team, it's 2-2, wasn't it? And I was just like, imagine how much better Man United would be if they had Hutchinson, I think it was Leif Davis maybe, because there was no left back, right? And Delap up top. And yeah, I think I'd probably stand by that. Like, I think he seems to have that like nastiness about him. He's got a bit like, I was watching Pythagoras in Boots, great channel, go check it out. He's talking about him. He has got that 90s striker vibe, that Shearer striker vibe. He's obviously not as good as him, but he has got that similar vibe. And that does suit what Amorim's trying to do. And that's what we kind of want to see from Højlund, but we've not been able to see it. So I like that Delap wants that move. I think it's a really good move, especially with the lack of money that they have, Man United. Semenyo I like from a style point of view in terms of being able to play in a few different positions for the team on both sides and starting maybe in those 10 positions but then driving forward or being that backup striker. But that's going to be down to if they get the Champions League and win the Europa League. And then Cunha as well in terms of an out-and-out next-level player to play in that position. I guess the question marks we're talking about him, we've done a whole video on him. The question marks being, can he kind of deal with the noise? From an attitude point of view, it's one where like I'm intrigued by all three of them. Semenyo is a squad player for Man United, which sounds bizarre when Bournemouth is so much better than Man United, but you get where I'm at. I do like the style of him in that team. I think that could work. But again, I said it this week. I'd like the idea of Bournemouth keeping a hold of Semenyo, personally. And last but not least, Adam Wharton linked to Liverpool, City, Real Madrid, Barcelona for 60 million. I think the big thing with all of these ones, and you guys will know your players better, so Palace fans talk to me about Wharton. It's stepping into that arena. It's stepping into that noise. That will be my biggest question mark on a lot of these players. Because for Liverpool, it's the prestige of some of these players that you're replacing. For Arsenal, there's the pressure of like you need to be a kind of missing piece, a really key additional piece to like allow this team to sing. Although I do think that's a good environment to step into for Arsenal because they aren't far away and you've got a lot of nice pieces around it. Man United, like they are, you guys are desperate, understandably, for just like someone who hits the ground running and gets it moving in the right direction for Amorim. So there's a lot, and just the Man United noise is it's just sensational, isn't it? So Adam Wharton, any of those teams, it'd be fascinating to see where it would go. Liverpool, City, Real, and Barcelona. I would love to see Adam Wharton at Barcelona. I just think that would be unreal. Would he get the minutes? Like, I doubt it, if I'm honest. But I'd love to see him there. I think he'd have a really, really good time. City, I can see him at Liverpool. I don't know why. I can see that working. Maybe giving Gravenberch a breather here and there to have both of those two guys, or in certain games, both of these two playing if McAllister wasn't available. That is some juicy stuff. So there you go. Transfers up to date. we've had a chat. I hope you've enjoyed it. I'd love to hear what your thoughts are on it and on me doing videos like this, because I can do them nice and easily. It's nice to have a little chat with you. So let me know what you think. And if you think we should do more of them, smash the like button. Speak soon.